today we are comparing the Samsung S10e versus the Mate 20, and yes, that's the regular Mate 20, not the Pro. So both of these are more on the lower end spectrum, and we're gonna see which one is better. So both of these do offer the ultra wide lens, of course, and then the regular one, but the Mate 20 does offer a telephoto. So if you guys use it, then it might be worth it. I don't use it, so I'm not missing too much on the S10e. The S10e also offers 4K recording, so right now I'm shooting 4K while it's only 1080p on the Mate 20. So this is the low light test of the front facing camera, and the only thing lighting me is the lights behind me. So if I'm walking away now, it's getting pretty dark, and I'm pretty sure the image quality is really bad right now. Portrait mode right under the sun. The skin tone is much more flat on the Samsung, whereas on the Mate 20 you can see more reds. But the Samsung do have the highlights controlled. As you can tell, you can see the sun and the blue sky, while the Mate 20, it's mainly white. The image looks better away from the sun, and on the Mate 20, the shadows is a bit more harsh on my face. Samsung has this color pop mode which works well on people, but not so much on complicated shapes. Samsung also has two more modes, swirl and zoom, which looks pretty decent, but I wouldn't use it too much. Huawei also have their own effects, which looks too cartoony for me. If I had to pick, I would go with the Samsungs. Both of these phones can do portrait mode on objects, but in this case, the Samsung didn't do too well because you can tell that the red bike on the back is in focus, while it's not in focus or it's pretty much blurred out on the Mate 20. You can also get more shallow depth of field on the Huawei Mate 20, which can go down to f.95, and with the Samsung, you can't readjust the focus point after you take the picture. The normal lenses look pretty close to each other, but the ultra wide lens, definitely the Samsung is much more wider than the Huawei Mate 20s. For the next couple of pictures, here are my thoughts. On the Samsung, it does a little bit better on HDR. You can still see some more details in the shadows. It's not by much, but it is noticeable, and the overall look on the Samsung is a little bit more yellow. So if you're into that warmer look, Samsung can do it right off the bat. And the sun also holds better on the Samsung as well, whereas on the Mate 20, the sun usually looks like it's smudged. And for the ultra wide lens, most of it is the same, except for the sun smudge, where it looks better on the ultra wide lens for the Mate 20. There is no telephoto lens on the Samsung, so I zoomed in so it can match. And for HDR, Samsung really has it down, but for detail, definitely the Huawei Mate 20. The letters on the papers looks much more clear on the Mate 20, whereas on the Samsung it looks a bit more digitized. Now for low light, the next couple pictures is using night mode on the Mate 20 and just the regular scene optimizer on the Samsung. So here's what I noticed. On the Mate 20 night mode, things are much more brighter, but it's not as sharp, so Samsung does have the sharper image. But let me know what you guys think down below. When you're walking around the city, I would prefer the Samsung because it's much more clear, whereas the flaring on the Mate 20 really distracts or kind of degrades the picture. The skies on the Samsung is much more darker, so that building behind Super Sav pops out way more, and on the Mate 20, I think the flaring off of the street lights just kind of destroys the picture for me. I mentioned more yellows on the Samsung in daytime. It also applies in the nighttime because on the lights, on the skin tones, the couches, the ceilings, the lamps, it looks much more yellow than the Mate 20. The Mate 20 has a flatter look, so you can actually see beyond the shadows, whereas on the Samsung, it's really dark, so you get that dramatic look. Here's the 4K 30 stabilization test, and I'm going to tell you right now that the stabilization on the Samsung S10e is better than the Mate 20, both regular and ultra wide lens mode. On the Mate 20, you can tell that there's more shakiness, there's more of the handheld look, and for the ultra wide, it's much less smooth. You can tell that it's kind of choppy, whereas on the Samsung, it looks really smooth. Now trying out super steady shot, there's no comparison. The Samsung looks like I'm on a gimbal rushing down the stairs, whereas you can clearly tell that a lot more shakiness is going on the Mate 20. Huawei Mate 20 also has a certain effect where it also shows that black and white color pop, but in video mode, so as you can tell, all black and white except for the person in front of me. And it has the background blur effect, which blurs out the background, but again, I would find the super steady shot way more useful than having these effects on the Huawei Mate 20. The Samsung S10e also have 4K 60, but there's no stabilization, but again, that's better than having no 4K 60 at all. Now for low light video, definitely both of these do not do any good. Every time I walk, you can see macro jitters,
and it's just a blurry image overall. Now, which one is better? Samsung is still better because it's more smoother and there's less jerkiness and there's less micro jitters overall. So both of these are not good, but Samsung does it a bit better in low light videography. So one tip is you can actually turn off the image stabilization on a Samsung so you can get a much more sharper image without having all those micro jitters in your low light videography. So overall, in terms of camera experience, I think the Samsung will give you the better edge in a lot of everyday situations. And for the Mate 20, if you really like doing aperture mode on objects and people, I feel like you do get some more customizations and options there. And also in terms of telephoto, of course you do get a telephoto lens, so if you do zoom in a lot, I would recommend that as well. So if you're really into those two things, I think the Mate 20 will be the better choice for you. So that is my comparison. Let me know what you guys think or which one you think is better. Thanks for watching, and this video is all done on an iPad, so sorry for a little mess up if you do see any. I'm just trying to do a new workflow here. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.